This is Jet, an Alsatian trained as a search and rescue dog during the Second World War. He and his handler recovered 150 people from the debris of the air raids. On one occasion, Jet located a woman buried in a bombed-out hotel and refused to move for 12 hours while rescuers tried to reach her. Jet was awarded the Dickin Medal in January 1945. Throughout history, animals have accompanied men and women into combat. Over 16 million animals served in the First World War. As warfare changed, the way that animals assisted in wars changed too. Row! From elephants used to build bridges to dogs that can locate explosives, we're taking a look at the vital role that 7 of our animal comrades have played over the past 100 years. When the First World War broke out in 1914, both sides had large cavalry forces and, as in previous wars, expected them to play an important part in the fighting. However, while horse and camel-mounted troops were vital in open desert fronts, the Western Front was a different story. Trench warfare and muddy conditions made cavalry virtually useless. Nonetheless, the roles of horses continued to be essential. Millions of horses were used by all the combatant nations in the First World War. They transported men, supplies, and equipment, and pulled vehicles and guns. Horse-drawn ambulances were part of a vast network of medical services set up to treat the wounded. Even throughout the Second World War, horses and donkeys were still the backbones of many armies. A seemingly invincible German army, whose blitzkrieg swept across Europe in 1940, was primarily horse-drawn. An unlikely war hero, the simple pigeon, played a hugely important role in the First and Second World Wars. A crucial task of animals was carrying messages. So vital were carrier pigeons that during the First World War, anyone caught killing, wounding, or molesting a pigeon could be imprisoned or fined. Gustav was one of the RAF's messenger pigeons during the Second World War and one of 6 birds given to news correspondent Montague Taylor ahead of D-Day. On the 6th June 1944, Gustav carried back the first news from the D-Day landings in Normandy. He flew more than 50 miles from the northern coast of France to his loft near Portsmouth in just over 5 hours to deliver this message. Gustav was awarded the Dickin Medal in September 1944. In desert conditions, camels played a vital role. They could be fitted with gear to transport casualties to aid posts or field hospitals. Camels were also used in the Sinai and Palestine campaigns. Their ability to carry heavy loads and go without water made them an ideal mode of transport in hot climates. Here, an Australian soldier demonstrates how tame his camel is by putting his wrist in its mouth. In Egypt, in 1917, horses, mules, donkeys, and oxen were used for heavy labor throughout the First and Second World Wars. They would be used in constructing roads and railways, or to carry heavy loads across difficult terrain. Mules were particularly adept at navigating the rocky landscape that was a feature of the Italian campaign during the Second World War. Animal welfare was taken very seriously. Here we see some British troops scraping mud from a mule on the Western Front in 1906. While donkeys, horses, mules, and oxen were at work in Europe, in the Far East, the skill and strength of the elephant was particularly useful. Elephants were used for transportation, heavy lifting, and building work. Even elephants living in Europe got involved with the war effort. Kiri and Manny were circus elephants living in Hamburg in Germany. During the Second World War, this pair were transferred to reconstruction work by local authorities to help clear the wreckage from Allied bombing raids. Here we see the 2 elephants clearing up a suburb. The news reporter tells us that for this strenuous job, their reward is extra fodder. Animals were not only used for work, many animals were kept as pets and mascots to raise morale and provide comfort amidst the hardships of war. As well as dogs and cats, mascots came in all shapes and sizes, including monkeys, bears, pigs, lions, and foxes. Wojtek was the pet mascot of a Polish company during the Second World War. The Syrian brown bear was adopted as a cub by the troops as they passed through Iran on their way to the Middle East. Upper Wojtek, meaning little one, eventually grew to over 6 feet tall, but he was extremely comfortable in human company, often play fighting with the men. 1943, the unit were posted to Italy and Wojtek was enlisted so that he could accompany them. He was even given the rank of private. During the fierce fighting, Wojtek helped keep the frontline troops supplied by carrying heavy shells and ammunition. After the war, Wojtek traveled with the unit to Scotland, where he eventually found a home at Edinburgh Zoo. But perhaps the most versatile animal worker throughout the past 100 years is that trusty companion to humans, the dog. As well as sending messages and navigating the battlefield, dogs, with their sensitive hearing and sense of smell, are particularly suited for detection duties. During the First World War, search and rescue dogs would venture out into no man's land to locate wounded men. They carried medical supplies and could lead stretcher parties to wounded, stranded soldiers. On the home front during the Second World War, they performed a similar task, helping to locate people trapped under debris following the air raids. Judy was adopted as a mascot by HMS Grasshopper during the Second World War. When the ship was torpedoed, Judy and the crew were captured by the Japanese and held as prisoners of war. Leading aircraftsman Frank Williams shared his rations with her throughout their imprisonment. Williams even managed, in an attempt to safeguard her life, to have Judy registered as a POW. Judy was extremely protective. She would bark to distract the guards if they beat the prisoners and often left the camp to bring bring back food. The crew were liberated in 1945. Judy was awarded the Dickin Medal the following year for magnificent courage and endurance, and also for saving many lives through her intelligence and watchfulness. Dog's loyalty, courage, heightened senses, and ability to be trained are attributes that are still harnessed by the military to this day. Throughout the 20th century, dogs were used to locate mines and concealed explosive devices. In this photograph, a military working dog completes a drill in Camp Bastion in Afghanistan in August 2012. As both companions and workers, animals have played an integral part in conflicts across the world. Though their roles have changed over the past 100 years, our animal comrades will always have a part to play on the battlefield. Thanks for watching. Don't forget to like and subscribe to IWM's YouTube channel for more videos like this and much more. There were loads of animals that we didn't have time to cover in this episode. If you have a favorite, tell us the story in the comments below. Rugged, unforgiving terrain. In the Italian campaign of the Second World War, mules were the unsung heroes of logistics, hauling heavy artillery and supplies where trucks and tanks couldn't go. Narrow mountain trails, slick with mud, echoed with the clatter of hooves and the creak of wooden carts. These sturdy animals carried everything from ammunition to medical supplies, often under enemy fire. One mule, named Daisy, became a legend in the 1944 Monte Cassino campaign. Daisy hauled a 75mm howitzer up a near vertical slope, her handler coaxing her through shell fire for hours. When the gun was finally in place, it turned the tide of the battle. Daisy didn't get a medal, but the soldiers swore she deserved one. Mules weren't just pack animals, they were lifelines. In the First World War, over 8 million horses and mules perished, a staggering toll that shows just how vital they were. Their sacrifice wasn't in vain. They kept armies moving, dragging cannons through knee-deep mud on the Western Front or carrying wounded soldiers to safety. In the Second World War, mules remained critical in places like Burma, where jungle terrain made mechanized transport nearly impossible. Here, the Chinese and Allied forces relied on mules to supply troops fighting the Japanese. One mule train, led by a stubborn but reliable animal named Bamboo, trekked 200 miles through dense jungle to deliver food and medicine to a stranded battalion. Bamboo's endurance saved hundreds of lives. While mules and horses bore the brunt of heavy labor, pigeons continued to prove their worth as messengers in the chaos of war. Beyond Gustav's heroic D-Day flight, thousands of pigeons served as communication lifelines when radio silence was critical. During the First World War, a pigeon named Cher Ami became a legend with the American forces in 1908. Trapped in a ravine under heavy German fire, the 77th Infantry Division faced annihilation. Cher Ami was released with a desperate message for help tied to her leg. Despite being shot through the chest and losing a leg, she flew 25 miles in 25 minutes to deliver the note, saving 19 foreign men. Cher Ami was awarded the French Croix de Guerre and later the American Distinguished Service Cross. Her preserved body is still displayed at the Smithsonian, a testament to her bravery. Pigeons weren't the only feathered heroes. In the Second World War, the British employed falcons to intercept enemy carrier pigeons. German forces used pigeons to relay intelligence across occupied Europe, but falcons like those trained by the RAF's falconry unit patrolled the skies over southern England. One falcon, named Thunderbolt, was credited with downing 20 enemy pigeons in 1943 alone, disrupting German communications. These birds of prey were trained to spot and attack their targets mid-flight, their talons slicing through the air to protect Allied secrets. It was a deadly game of aerial chess played out above the English Channel. In the deserts of North Africa, camels remained indispensable. Beyond their role in the Sinai and Palestine campaigns of the First World War, camels served as mobile hospitals during the Second World War. The British and Australian forces equipped camels with specially designed litters to carry wounded soldiers from the front lines to field hospitals. One camel, dubbed Sally by her Australian handlers, carried over 300 wounded men to safety during the 1942 Battle of El Alamein. Sally's ability to move steadily across scorching sand without water for days made her a lifesaver in the harsh desert. Soldiers would cheer as Sally's silhouette appeared on the horizon, her steady gait bringing hope to the wounded. Dogs, however, continued to steal the show with their versatility. Beyond search and rescue, dogs were trained as sentries, scouts, and even saboteurs. During the First World War, the German army employed dogs like Rolf, a Doberman who patrolled the trenches at night. Rolf's keen senses could detect approaching enemies long before human sentries, barking to alert his handlers of danger. On one occasion, Rolf's warning saved the German outpost from a surprise Allied attack, earning him extra rations and a pat on the head from a grateful commander. In the Second World War, dogs took on even more specialized roles. The Soviet Union trained anti-tank dogs to run under enemy tanks carrying explosives. Though controversial, these dogs disrupted German armored advances during the 1941 Battle of Kursk, with one dog named Zoya credited with disabling 3 tanks in a single day. Training animals for war was no small feat. Handlers spent months building trust with their animals, teaching them to ignore the roar of gunfire or the scream of bombs. For dogs, this meant rigorous drills to sharpen their senses and obedience. At the War Dog Training School in Britain during the Second World War, trainers worked with breeds like German Shepherds shepherds and collies, teaching them to sniff out explosives or locate buried survivors. One graduate, a collie named Rob, completed 20 parachute jumps with the British Special Air Service. Rob's missions involved scouting enemy positions in occupied France, his silent movements and sharp instincts saving countless lives. Not for prey, Rob was awarded the Dickin Medal in 1945, joining the ranks of animal heroes. Elephants, too, required careful training to handle the chaos of war. In India and Burma, Mahouts trained elephants to build bridges and clear debris under combat conditions. One elephant, named Lin Wang, served with the Chinese Expeditionary Force in Burma. Lin Wang hauled logs to construct bridges over raging rivers, enabling Allied troops to advance against Japanese positions. After the war, Lin Wang became a beloved figure in Taiwan, living until 1953 and earning the nickname Grandfather Elephant for his gentle demeanor. His story reminds us that even the largest animals could play a delicate role in the war effort. Mascots and pets continued to lift spirits on the front lines. In the Second World War, a black cat named Blackie became the mascot of HMS Prince of Wales, a British battleship. Blackie survived the ship sinking by the Japanese in 1941, swimming to a lifeboat and later retiring to a naval base in Singapore. His presence boosted morale, with sailors claiming Blackie brought them luck even in the darkest moments. Similarly, a goat named Billy, mascot of the Canadian 5th Infantry Brigade, marched with the troops through France in 1950. Billy's bleating became a rallying cry, and he was even promoted to sergeant for his unwavering spirit. As warfare evolved, so did the roles of animals. By the Korean War in the 1950s, dogs were trained to detect tripwires and booby traps. A German shepherd named York, serving with the U.S. Army, saved his platoon by alerting them to a hidden minefield during a 1951 patrol. York's handler, Private First Class John Smith, credited the dog with saving his life multiple times. In Vietnam, dogs like Nemo, a German shepherd with the U.S. Air Force, guarded air bases against Viet Cong attacks. In 1966, Nemo took a bullet to protect his handler, Robert Thornburg, but still managed to attack an intruder, allowing reinforcements to arrive. Nemo survived and retired to the United States, where he was honored as a hero. In modern conflicts, animals continue to serve. Military working dogs have been deployed in Iraq and Afghanistan, sniffing out improvised explosive devices. A Belgian Malinois named Cairo joined U.S. Navy SEALs during the 2/11 raid that killed Osama bin Laden. Cairo's role was to detect hidden explosives and alert the team to approaching threats, ensuring the mission's success. These dogs undergo years of training, learning to rappel from helicopters, wear tactical vests, and even use night vision goggles. Their courage under fire remains unmatched. Animal welfare has also evolved. During the First World War, organizations like the Royal Society for the Prevention of Cruelty to Animals sent veterinarians to the front lines to treat wounded horses and mules. By the Second World War, mobile veterinary units cared for dogs, camels, and even elephants. Today, military animals receive top-tier medical care, with some dogs fitted with titanium teeth to replace those lost in combat. The bond between handlers and their animals is profound, often lasting beyond the battlefield. Many handlers adopt their dogs after service, giving them a well-earned retirement. The legacy of animals in warfare is etched into history. From the thundering hooves of cavalry horses to the silent wings of messenger pigeons, these creatures have shaped the outcome of battles and saved countless lives. Their stories remind us of the deep connection between humans and animals, forged in the crucible of conflict. Whether it's a mule like Daisy, a pigeon like Cher Ami, or a dog like Cairo, these heroes prove that bravery knows no species. Thanks for joining us on this journey through a century of animal courage. There are countless more stories out there. Animals who ran, flew, or trudged through the chaos of war to stand by their human comrades. If you've got a favorite animal hero, share their story in the comments below. Don't forget to like and subscribe for more tales of valor from the Imperial War Museums.